Find the area of the following circle. So first thing we need to know is that the area of a circle equals pi r squared. And the r stands for the radius. Now in this circle here, we've got the distance the whole way across, which is called the diameter. Now, we don't need to know the diameter, we need to know the radius. So the radius is the distance halfway across the circle from the circumference to the centre. So we need to half 7 to get the radius. The radius is going to be 3.5 because it's half of 7. And that's going to be the bit I put into the formula here. So we've got the area equals pi times by the radius squared. The radius is now 3.5. So it's pi times by 3.5 squared. Now you could put this all into your calculator at once, but just so you can see what I'm doing, I'm going to work out the 3.5 squared bit first. And that's 12.25, so I've got pi times by 12.25. And now I'm just going to put that whole thing into my calculator. Pi times 12.25. And that gives me the answer of 38.484, which to one decimal place becomes 38.5. That's centimetres squared because it's an area, to one decimal place. Find the area of the following shape. So again, I'm going to write down my formula for the area. Area equals pi r squared. Now obviously this is set up to find me the area of a full circle. This isn't the full circle, but we'll work that out afterwards. We're just going to pretend it's a full circle for now. So what we're going to work out is going to be the area of a full circle, looking something like that. So this time I need to know the radius again, but I've been given the diameter. So what I need to do is half that to get the radius, the distance from the centre to the outside. So the radius is going to be 3. And that's the bit I'm going to put in here. I'm going to have pi times by 3 squared. So 3 squared is 9, so I've got pi times by 9. So pi times by 9, that gives me 28.27. And I'm going to try and make sure not to round this yet, because I'm going to need all of this in a minute. So I might even just write down the whole thing. Either that, or you're going to need to use your answer button. I'd always recommend you need to use the answer button. But I'll write it down all just to be sure here. Now, as I mentioned earlier, this formula was for a full circle. This isn't a full circle. This is only half the circle. So if I wanted to find the area of the shape, then I need to half all of this. Or by half I mean divide by 2. So I'm just going to hit divide by 2. Can either use the answer button or type it all in again. And when I do that, I get 14.137, which to one decimal place is 14.1. Again, that's an area, so I keep that as centimetres squared, and I've given it to one decimal place. Find the area of the following shape. So area of a circle is pi r squared, and obviously, as with before, that's for a full circle, and this thing over here is far from a full circle. It's got this little bit missing. So we're going to pretend it's a full circle though for now, and we'll work this bit out after. First of all, we have been given this time the distance from the centre to the outside. We've got the radius, and we know that's 2. So I'm just going to put that straight into my formula. Pi times by 2 squared. I know 2 squared is 4, so we've got pi times 4. And at this point, I'm going to work that out on the calculator. Pi times by 4 is going to give me 12.566. And either you need to write that all out and stick it back in again, or keep the whole thing in your calculator for the next part. I'm just going to write it down so you can check that you've done it right so far. Now, as I mentioned earlier, this is set up for a full circle. This isn't a full circle. It's got this quarter cut out of it here, which means I'm left with 3/4 of a circle. So I now need to find the area of the shape is now going to be equal to 3/4 all of this up here. So to find 3/4 of something, easiest way, divide it by 4 to get 1/4, and then multiply it by 3 to get the 3/4. So I'm going to put in all of my 12.56666 and that lot. So divide by 4 and then multiply by 3. And that gives us 9.424 and so on, which to one decimal place becomes 9.4. That again is an area, so it must be centimetres squared, and that's also to one decimal place.